How long does it take to be a successful gardener? Well, what's your definition of success? Mine is, if you can grow the plant of your choosing, that makes you a successful gardener. And you can do that with about 10 minutes, 3 times a week. Today I'd like to talk about large red cherry tomato from American Seed. It's a medium-sized, indeterminate plant. Gets to about 6.5, maybe 7 feet tall. It's a reliable producer of large cherry tomatoes that grow in clusters of 5 to 7 fruits each. And some of my tomatoes are finally starting to ripen. But I've struggled to grow these plants for the last 2 years. Last year we tried growing them in hanging baskets and in containers, but we just couldn't keep them watered and fertilized enough for them to do well. And the deer ate the tops off the ones in the containers. This year we planted them in the ground so they wouldn't require so much water. But you can see we're growing it in clay with a little bit of compost mixed in. So the soil's depleted and it doesn't hold water as well as it should. And I tried cutting back on the nitrogen I used this year to see if we could get the plants to grow shorter and produce more fruit. You can see I let things go a little too far, and now I've got yellow leaves that will probably drop from the plant. Since they started yellowing, I've applied some calcium nitrate and also some Miracle-Gro. And the deer came through and cut the tops off the plants again. Here's a big hoof print in my very small victory garden, right next to my cherry tomatoes. And here's evidence the deer have been through. So we'll be able to pick fruit soon, maybe another couple of days, if the animals don't get them first. But we're not getting anywhere near what the plant is capable of producing. I actually got my first ripe tomato yesterday, but I didn't pick it. It was laying on the ground. You can see the animals have come through and cut the tops off of my Tiny Tim tomatoes. The plants were covered with clusters of tomatoes. They're all gone. I don't know if it's squirrels, rabbits, or deer, but they accidentally dropped that one on the ground. So I did get one. And they ate the tops off of all of my bean plants. And they ate the flower buds off of all of the tiger lilies. And they ate my wife's hosta. But enough about the damage. Let's get back to those large red cherry tomato plants. When I started them this spring, I actually had the tray with large red cherry tomatoes dry out when they were seedlings, and they wilted over. I watered them and they came back, so they got off to a rough start. But one of the plants, when I watered it, its growth tip leaves got stuck in the dirt, and when the plant started growing again, it actually broke itself in half. The top of the plant broke off, so that all that was left was the first 2 sets of true leaves and a little bit of a stalk. So I thought the plant would die. Instead, it grew 2 main stems from the bottom, and it turned out to be a vigorous growing plant. So I gave that to someone else who had space for it in their garden, and they recently sent me a video clip showing how that plant is doing. It's amazing how much better it's growing than what's here.
This is my garden. This is garden number 2. We started this year. My grow bags I got, and they're doing pretty well. As you can see, it did really good with the lettuce. Lettuce is almost over the season. This is garden number 1. We started last year, and we upgraded to a stand-up greenhouse this year. So this is a large red cherry I got from Clay Potter Nursery. It was damaged when it was growing originally and had the stalk broke off of it, but it grew back from the roots, and it grew back really big, and it has a lot of tomatoes on it. It's also 6 feet tall. There are plenty of tomatoes on the tomato vines. It's got quite a bit of them all through the plant. It is doing very well. This plant right here is a fish pepper. It will get little white peppers on it that will eventually turn red. It's full size at 2 feet tall.
That's about it for today. We should be getting all the ripe tomatoes we can eat starting in the next few days. These 2 plants are Sophie's Choice. These are supposed to mature in 55 to 60 days. They're a determinate plant, but these have been in the ground for more than 60 days and still have not gotten any ripe tomatoes. There are a lot of fruits on here, so I'm happy with the plant growth and production, but I had hoped these would have been my first producers this year. It looks like they're not going to be. But we'll keep growing this plant because it's a compact plant that produces a lot of fruit. I might even experiment with growing some over the fall to see if we can get them through the first few weeks of winter. Hope everyone is having success in their garden. Get out there and make some stuff grow.